Right, rapid reaction. Dallas Cowboys 37, New York Jets 22, and it wasn't that close. Another embarrassing outing for Aaron Glenn and crew. This team just is not good enough, but there are some silver linings I'd like to talk about. Number one, if you were a frequent watcher of Coffee with Frankie on Sundays, 10 a.m. We went over this all summer long, stating that the defense in particular was not good enough. That you just didn't have enough good players. We had the fewest good players in the AFC East, and that we were headed toward, uh, you know, the last place in AFC East. And now that's happening. And the one thing that could have saved us is if the O line played amazing, and if Justin Fields played outstanding, maybe he could pull out a few barn burner type wins. That's not happening. Offensive line, I would say, is okay. They're doing good run blocking, seemingly. And their pass pro is a little shoddy at times. Easy stunts, typical stunts are getting them killed. So, but that's what we're seeing. We're seeing a team without enough talent on, especially on defense, getting killed by teams that are just better. And then, so stats wise, though, let's hope that uh, some of these stats don't make the Jets think they have something that they don't have. For example, Justin Fields went 32 for 46. That's 70%, 283 yards, 2 touchdowns. You look at that on the face of it, it looks pretty good. Problem is a lot of that was in garbage time. It's not, doesn't really count. I mean, it does, but Brees Hall, on the other hand, 14 rushes, 113 yards, 8.1 average. That does kind of count because that was all mostly in the less in garbage time. Garrett Wilson, 6 receptions, 71 yards, 1 touchdown. Mason Taylor, another bright spot, 9 catches, 67 yards. Brees Hall added another 42 yards in the air. Jeremy Ruckert contributed 4 catches, 28 yards, so forth and so on. But the silver lining, I think, is that Glenn's messaging is now changing. You're hearing him say things in the presser like, we got to have patience. It's going to take a little time. We're building the foundation. These type of phrases are now coming up. When he first got here, that was not the case. And I said, that doesn't sound right to me in terms of the messaging to the fans and to the players. Maybe that's what he needed to say. I don't know, to sell tickets or to make sure that free agents wanted to come here and didn't, weren't going through another rebuild. As if you remember, Quinnen Williams tweeted out, "Oh, I guess I'm going through another rebuild," and he quickly deleted it and said he was sorry and all. But so we got to see what happens. I mean, obviously this season's gone pretty much. It's over. It's evaluation season. Looks like we got a tight end in Mason Taylor. Looks like Garrett looks like Garrett. Brees looks like Brees. But what do they do with Brees? For example, he's putting up good numbers now. Another 100-yard game plus 42 in the air, over 150 yards total from scrimmage for Brees. Although he did have one fumble. So does somebody want to make us an offer that we can't refuse at the trade deadline? What we do at the trade deadline is going to be instructive, because what we should be doing is saying, all right, who can we get rid of that's not part of the future plans? And I'm not saying that's Brees or not. If Brees is, then you sign him up, or tag him. But if he's not part of future plans, then you got to trade him and get what you can for him. And because we got to stockpile these picks for the draft, because that's the only way we're going to get better. We can't rely on free agency. You got to find the right types of players in the draft, and we're going to need to stockpile these picks. And so, can we trade Lazard for something, a pick swap or something? Can we trade even Quincy maybe? Once he heals up, he's on an expiring contract. Is he part of the future? All of these pieces, anything anybody wants to trade for, somebody want to trade for Tyrod Taylor. Somebody making a playoff push wants a reliable backup. Hey, how about Tyrod? You know, even for a pick swap, if you move up from the 7th to the 6th, now you can get a better player perhaps, or now you have ammunition to move around the board. So we'll see how it goes. I'm not really so surprised. We could have pulled out a couple of these games at the end if we got a little luck. A guy doinks a field goal or something. We win the first game, or we don't throw the pick six in the Tampa game. Maybe we win that one. So we could have won a couple of these games, but really, this was going to be a bad team. Why? We just didn't have enough good players, and the offense was going to take a little while to get going. The offense has been the best part of the team. even though a lot of what the offense has produced has been in garbage time. And so you have to factor that in also. When you watch Justin Fields at this point in time, he is not commanding the offense in the way that we need. He's decent. He can be a high level backup in the league all day long. Maybe in some spot he could be a starting quarterback and they could make it work. At least as of now, it does not feel to me as if he's going to make that work here. Um, but we'll see. There's a number of problems. At times, our pass pro isn't great. We don't have a wonderful wide receiver core, though we do have good receivers if you count Mason Taylor in there, and Brees Hall, is a good outlet, check down guy to throw to. And then Garrett, of course. But so we do have some pieces. The O line probably needs to come together and gel and play better. And AVT was a big loss, but you can't use that as an excuse. Dallas had 4 or 5, their whole line was out. And the same thing with Tampa Bay when we played them. And somehow they still won ball games. So it's not an excuse. But I do think the messaging from Glenn getting a little more realistic is a positive and probably tells you, look, there's not going to be any radical changes probably this first year. Wilkes probably coming back. You do have to give people time to build their team. This reminds me a little bit of the first year of Saleh and Ulbrich, if you remember. Lots of people wanted to get rid of Ulbrich. And I said, no, no, no. This is a full rebuild. Now, at that time, they admitted it was a full rebuild, so it was easier for me to say that because that's what they were saying. But now we see this is kind of maybe like a soft rebuild. And so that being the case, you do have to give them a chance to build their team. They could have done much better roster-wise than they did this time, but let's give them a chance to really add the kind of guys that they want this year now that Muji has his whole staff and all of that in place. And let's see how they do in year 2. And we'll do the same thing next year. Once the roster's constructed, I'll tell you where they stand against, at least the AFC East. And hopefully it looks a lot better. Now, we're not going to be better than the Bills next year, but can we be better than the Dolphins? We probably won't have Tyreek Hill, or if they do, he'll be recovering from his injury. And they have a very shallow roster anyway. And who knows if McDaniel's going to last? They lost their 4th game. They're 1-4 now. McDaniel's may not last the season. Greer may not. So they may have a whole rebuilding effort over there. Can we be better than them? Can we try to match the Patriots at least? Something like that. And then, of course, the question is going to be the age-old conundrum of quarterback. So we'll see how that goes. So that's it. Another depressing day in Jets land. And I will see you next time.